still cheap, relatively. Equities today, not so bad. We'll have the details when we do the numbers.
You pay attention with so much at stake.
Seas are rising and chronic flooding will be the new normal.
You navigate, you listen, you keep an ear out. You pay attention, and so do we. We tell the stories of our time every day.
In the 26th day of testimony and on the 139th witness, Shira Springer wept.
We unearth what would otherwise stay hidden.
There's just a lot of hate in this world, and that day, for that hour, we were humans.
Across the street.
The Red Sox have won the World Series.
And around the globe.
It's here and now.
This is Modern Love.
This is WBUR's All Things Considered.
This is only a game.
This is On Point.
This is Radio Boston.
On air, online, on demand, and on stage in the heart of Boston.
I'm Jack Lepiars. Welcome to WBUR City Space.
Always looking forward, paying attention, and knowing that your story is one of our stories.
Good morning. I'm Bob Oates.
I'm Lisa Mullins.
I'm Meghna Chakrabarti.
I'm Jeremy Hobson.
This is 90.9 WBUR Boston.
Ooh, it's bright up here. I want to thank you all for coming to City Space, our new event venue at WBUR. I'm Shira Springer, the Sports and Society reporter for WBUR. I cover stories at the intersection of sports and society, surprisingly. And I also wanted to thank John Hancock for presenting this event with Des and also bringing the Boston Marathon to this part of Comm Ave for a couple of hours. And finally, I want to bring up Des Linden and thank her for coming and taking time out of her busy, high-mileage schedule to talk to us about how things are going with her training and all the things you do outside of running. So I could actually think of no better way to start this conversation than by showing your finish at the 2018 Boston Marathon. This is a surprise I was holding back. So with that, we'll take a look.
The rain continues to come down, and now the drought is over. An American woman wins Boston for the first time in more than 30 years.
So I can see you're getting, let's just say, a little moist.
I can't watch stuff like that.
That was going to be my first question.
Yeah.
I mean, have you watched that before or been forced to watch it?
I mean, I just can't. Like, I'll just kind of turn I can't watch it. It makes me so uncomfortable. It's just weird.
Oh, yes. Okay. Sorry. Okay, so I was going to say afterwards there will be audience questions, and you can do that either by stepping to the microphone that will be
Mike will be over here.
out here.
Or you can go to your cell phone.
Or there's a cell phone, and it's slido.com, and enter hashtag DL318 when we get to the audience question part of the evening. So we were talking about watching or not watching the finish, and you were saying tough to watch, or you try to avoid watching it, or?
I think when I'm done running, when I'm hang up the shoes, and it'll be amazing in like the video that they show at my retirement party. I don't know who they is. I don't
The
know
big
who's throwing
retirement
this party
party.
for me, but they should put that in there, and then I can be like, oh, this was awesome. But it's a really hard thing to keep moving forward when you just accomplish your life goal, you know, and like the thing you've dreamed of for forever, and then you go, oh, I've got it. Why would I go out and sign up for the next one? And so when you look at it, it's like, oh yeah, that's real. Like I have everything I want from the sport. Like hang them up, walk away. But I love the sport and I still want to keep doing it. I'm signed up for this year's Boston Marathon. So I just, yeah. I think to be hungry for this year, you can't watch stuff like that.
Okay, so I will keep the questions about last year then to a minimum, but I have to ask, when you were coming down that home stretch on Boylston Street, what was going through your mind? Do you even remember what was going through your mind?
I remember thinking a lot about 2011, and everyone was like, oh, you had to know you had this big lead, you probably looked back, you know, were you celebrating? And it's like, I turned onto Boylston and I was like, I feel good enough that if I have to sprint, I will be ready. Like, I think I can race. I like had it all mapped out in my head, and nobody's behind me, obviously, apparently. I didn't know, but I was like, okay, like I'm ready to race. Like I think I can win today.
And how much of the whole race do you remember? I mean, or does it come in sort of flashes, or there's certain moments that stick out in your mind? And if so, what are they?
Yeah, there's certainly highlights. It was the craziest year. I mean, I ran in 2007 where there's potential to get canceled because of nor'easter and the whole thing, and this was next level. The bathroom stop with Schlein is obviously a key moment, and it was just, it kind of put into perspective how wild the day was. And it was, you know, I was like, strategy-wise, it wasn't a big thing. It was like, I'll help you get back into the group. I'm just going to slow down a little bit. It was fine, but it was that moment when I was looking back, Schlein's running to the porta potty, she pops out, but at the same time, Serena Burla, who had started in her, you know, regular racing uniform, no jacket, no long sleeve, just regular what you'd wear on a summer's day racing uniform. Bad move, in my opinion. She got to that point, it was about halfway in the race, and she realized she wasn't going to get to the finish in what she was wearing. Like, she was going to get hypothermic. So Schleein's running to the bathroom. Serena sees a trash can and is like, I'm going to get the trash bag, empty it out, punch a hole in it, and wear it. She wore it the rest of the race. But I'm looking back at Schleein's running to the bathroom, and there's this bag like billowing. I'm like, what is happening? This is a circus. Like, so that stood out as just this wild things happening.
How much has your life changed since the win?
It's been a lot busier, in the best way possible. And I get to do really fun events, and obviously, you know, being invited back. And I think I feel really good about my invitations in the future. So that's changed, and it just takes a lot of pressure off the job aspect of it. So it's a huge relief to go into every race now, and it's like the gravy. You're just eating gravy now, which is super fun. It just takes a lot of pressure off the job, and I always thought it was something I could get done, but you know, there's a ton of people that believe that, and so having a win on my resume as a marathoner was super important, and I didn't have to be here. It could have been, maybe I'll go to Detroit one day, or Flying Pig, or whatever it may be, you know. And I was at a point where I was thinking that might be where I was shifting to. So to win here in a race that I love, I have so much history with, has so much history. Yeah, I mean, just game changer for my career, and yeah, it's things have been a little bit busier too.
Okay, what's the coolest opportunity you've had or experience you've had? I know there have been first pitches and stuff like that, but something that has just either surprised you or been beyond your wildest dreams cool that you've had the opportunity to do?
The Celtics game was amazing. Great fans in Boston, great sports fans, that was awesome. Everyone wants to hear Taylor Swift. No. I'm not going there. That's simple. I'm a huge... Are there any Formula One fans in here? Cars? Yes. So I got to go to Formula One in Austin and walk the grid before the start, and just honestly just go to a bunch of parties all weekend with Formula One people, and I thought that was the coolest.
All right, you're here in part because you ran the New York City Half Marathon yesterday, finished 5th. I'm going to get this right in 1:11:22. For those who need mile pacing, that's 5:27 per mile, average. I know that, though, that the point of that race was sort of to strategically cover moves and kind of just race it. It wasn't about a specific time, but I have to ask, with exactly a month to go today, how's the training going, and how optimistic are you?
Yeah, we were just chatting, and I said after yesterday, I feel like the most optimistic about the rest of my running career than I have been in a very, very long time. I'm very excited. I'm having a ton of fun. It's fresh for me. I changed coaches last year shortly after this race, and just made some adjustments, and it's freshened things up. It's made it fun. But it's all new, too. So training's going really well, but I have nothing to compare it to. So fingers crossed. Like, hopefully he knows what he's doing.
I do want to get to your new coach, but before that, I'm just curious. You talk to a lot of elite runners, and they say with Boston you train for the course as opposed to just simply training. I mean, what is your approach? Do you train for the course given the hills and sort of the variety of terrain, ups and downs, and particularly the up, down, the Cleveland Circle?
It's definitely different, and you can go to Berlin, Chicago, Tokyo, and just train for 26.2. You're absolutely right. You train for the course here, and traditionally we would do a ton of downhill workouts, and at 35, I feel like that might be too aggressive now. So my new coach has done a little bit more with weights and figuring out the right things to work the muscles and strengthen the muscles, but not beat up the entire body. So that's been really beneficial. And I'm obviously here in Boston to do this because you guys are great, but I'm going to run the course too. I mean, it's not all about you, Shira.
Thank you. So you can always depend on Des for some good trash talk. Any extra pressure when you come in as the defending champion? You're going to get that #1 bib.
I don't know. Should there be? Nope. It's all gravy, right? I mean, if I don't win this year, they don't take last year's away, right? Like, it's just so freeing. I don't view it as pressure at all. To me, it was pressure to get that win, to get any win on a marathon course. And, now it's just fun. It's very freeing. It allows me to change coaches and do workouts differently and take bigger risks in the race and go attack the New York City Half and see how that goes. And so it really frees up the remainder of my career to just have a lot of fun.
I have to ask, you spend a lot of your time training for probably 2 events per year. Give us some insight into what the life of a professional runner is really like. It's not all Formula One races and Taylor Swift concerts and first pitches, right?
Right. I wish it were. It'd be so great. It's so boring. It's so boring. It's you guys are runners. You go out and put your hours in, and then you have like your real life, and you go to work and you spend time with people, and like the running fits in with life. And our life is just the running. So all the time that you spend doing real life, we're figuring out how to recover, get ready for the next session, how to eat better, how to get more sleep. Everything feeds into making that run the thing. And then if it doesn't go right, you spend all kinds of time thinking about that, and you can be productive, or you can just eat yourself up with all of that time in between. And there's obviously massage and naps and physio, and it's not a glamorous thing, really. It's actually pretty dull. And the other side of it, post-Boston, where it is like, there's more photo shoots, and you're at Formula One, and you did that. Those sound really cool too, but they're also, like a photo shoot is like 9 hours of standing and taking that time you would invest in being a better runner and giving energy somewhere else. So it's, I will say, the running has gotten so much more. It's been a lot more difficult to be a really great pro runner post winning Boston, which is a little twisted, but it's the reality. Like, there's all these really great opportunities to work more.
It's a good thing. Yeah. You mentioned how when you're a pro runner, you have sort of the single-minded focus on your training runs for the day, runs plural. But you also mentioned that in 2011, you were second in Boston. That was a big breakthrough race for you, particularly financially, because prior to that, you were working part-time in an outdoor gear warehouse, Moose Jaw, right?
Moose Jaw.
What was that period of your life like when you were sort of a part-time pro runner? I mean, you had that job on the side and you were kind of trying to make it.
It's like what I'm doing now. Like, it's really exhausting. Like, I'm spending all the time like trying to make it. I honestly really enjoyed that. I'm a person who needs balance, and we talk about being single-minded and very focused and the whole thing, and that's like something I have to work on. When I was up and coming, yes, you need money, but also like I had just moved to Michigan. I'm from California. I didn't know anybody out there. It was just to join this team. Join the team, so you run with these guys every day. Live in a house with the teammates, so you live with the people you see every day. You could work in a running shop and work with the people that you see. And then your coach is your boss at the running shoe store, your landlord at the house. And like, Moose Jaw was the best thing that ever happened to me. It's like I met so many great people, and it just had a little bit more balance. And so I really enjoyed that time. Actually, even after 11, I worked there probably another 7 months. And then the holiday season was coming up, and I was like, no, sorry. I can't do this anymore.
I don't know many Boston Marathon runners up that would continue their work schedule, but balance.
Sarah Sellers.
Okay, there you go. Good point.
She's making a little more money, though.
So you mentioned the balance part of this. I think it's probably well known in the running community that prior to last year's Boston, you were coming out of a pretty severe case of burnout. Can you sort of explain what happened? There was a month where you didn't even run. What happened? What that experience was like, and how that changed your approach to running, and may have in fact led to your Boston win in some ways.
That's a lot of questions.
I'm sorry.
Can you break it down?
I'll break it down. Sorry, I got carried away. But let's talk about the breakthrough, the burnout rather. Yeah. So you have this. What happened there? This was. I think you have said you had 3 high pressure marathons in the span of 14 months. You had the Olympic trials, the 2016 Olympic trials, the 2016 Rio Olympics, and then you had 2017 Boston Marathon. And it was just a grind by the end of it. How, what went wrong sort of with all of that? Or not even wrong, what led to the burnout?
Yeah, I think you nailed it. It is 3 super high pressure races. I think the Olympic trials are this amazing opportunity, and you can go in and stand on the start line. If you're healthy, you have the potential to change your life, change your career trajectory. Imagine your biggest day at work, and you got 1 day to do it, and if you didn't nail that presentation, like, oh, so sorry, come back in 4 years. You might, if it didn't go well, you might consider getting a new job. Like, I don't know if I can do another 4 years and have 1 presentation, and like, if I don't nail it then. So that's what the trials is. It's really what it is. And you have 1 day, don't get sick, don't stub your toe, and that's what you're thinking about every day during the build-up. And every ache and pain is a little more in your head, and it's family members of people that are trying to make the team are saints. Like, poor Ryan, he's the nicest person in the world, but it's just a very stressful time. And then you go and you get it done, and you're like, boom, like this is amazing. Like, I'm going to be able to run professionally for a little bit longer. I'm enjoying this. I'm going to go to the games. And that's probably the most stressful race we have. The games, really, really fun. For a lot of people, it is the gravy. It's the post-Boston. Well, now everything else is like bonus because I'm an Olympian, right? Super proud of that in 2012. But our goals for the U.S. women are just really high right now. We have a really great group of runners. So it's like if you're on the team, you got to be thinking about medals. Like we're that good. We need to be pushing the boundary, and just really mixing it up in the front. And I think in 2012, that was where my head was at. And again, you go into every day like, I got to be the hardest worker. I have to be the smartest worker. I have to do everything. And it's great. You can have a breakthrough or you can break down. And in 2012, I broke down and didn't even make it to the finish line because I'm hurt before, we hit 3 miles of the race. And so make the team in 16, super stressful, but got it done, check. And then you go in and it's like, okay, really should be shooting for a medal, but really need to get to the finish line of this one. Can't drop out twice as an Olympian. Like, you already, that weighed on me for years. Where I was like, well, I'm an Olympian. Like, finish. I didn't compete. I was just there. So getting Rio right was super important. And then you walk away, 3 people leave happy, right? First, second, third. And then everyone who else finishes the games is like, you just have it's the day after Christmas. You're like, all right, 4 more years. It's such a bummer. And it's like, amazing experience, super proud of it. But there's this pit afterwards where you're like, well, now how am I going to top that? It's like, I got to go back to work for 4 more years and hope I make it. But I have Boston. So why not throw yourself into another high-pressure race that you love, that will get you motivated, get you out of bed, get you excited to go run and compete. And so I was like, yeah, sign me up, let's go. And it was just 3 back-to-back high pressure, and I didn't make it easier on myself in 17. And I was like, I can win here. I'm in the shape of my life. I'm super fit. I love this course. I can win here. And I didn't.
Suspense.
Yeah.
So then the wheels kind of come off in the what you call the summer of 17.
Summer of 17.
Tell us a little bit about what you went through and how you got through the burnout. And also, we've talked a little bit about this before. I love your definition of burnout. I think sometimes when you're in the running community, it sort of has a really bad connotation, but I also think a lot of people go through it. So let's start there. How do you think of burnout?
What did I say earlier? You want to say it because I don't remember it. But
was it overexertion to the point of diminishing returns or overinvestment?
Over-enthusiasm, over-investment, over-caring to the point of diminishing return. You want something so bad that it's just too great and you're starting to go backwards. It's wreaking havoc.
And so what was the summer of 17 like, and how did you work your way through it?
The sad, sad summer of 17.
You did have a puppy, though.
That could be the song, yeah. Puppies are like children, so if you're really sad and tired, don't get a puppy. They have sharp little teeth, and you're like, oh, if you're not so cute. Poor Boston. His name's Boston. I didn't even name him. Ryan was like, let's name him Boston. And I was like, I hate everything about that. Sure, Ryan. It's fine. We're getting away from the point.
It's okay.
Yeah,
dogs all day.
We just try to push through things, and you don't. For me, and I don't want to put this on everyone because a lot of you are probably smarter than me, but we just try to keep pushing through, and the answer has always been work harder, do more. Let's figure this out. And so, coming off of Boston, disappointed. Let's fix it by doing something else and trying to do it better. And so I jumped right into a half marathon overseas in Australia. Gorgeous time of year, perfect day. It's PR paradise. This is it. This is my day. And I just ran so poorly. And it was in the middle of this race, I'm like, I'm just going backwards. Like I'm forcing things. I'm really like just trying too hard, and it shouldn't be this difficult, and running shouldn't make me this upset. Like my splits shouldn't like, yeah, it was just really frustrating. And I was just going backwards across the board, physically, results-wise, and mentally with my love for running, literally, as we went through that race. It was like, yep, love it, maybe a PR. This is really hard. My body's not cooperating. I feel like I'm fighting through something that maybe I'm just too old for this. And then I was like, yeah, I should probably just hang them up. Okay, cross the finish line. Don't cool down.
And then how'd you get through it?
Time off. Yeah, I mean, it was kind of the thing that I needed for a long time, and it was signing up for the next thing wasn't fixing the problem. It wasn't helping me enjoy running. It wasn't a result that was going to make me happy. It was finding the love for running again, because that was lost, and it had just become a job and about chasing down a result and getting a win or a PR. And so I just stopped running, which takes away the competition part. Like if you're not training, you probably shouldn't go try to compete, and just took time away.
So you came back. One of your first race back was actually cross country at Franklin Park, Mayor's Cup. Mm-hmm. Then did a series of small races leading up to Boston. And I think that gets us back to the end of the long list of questions, which was, did what you learned during that period where you took time off and sort of recalibrated your approach to the sport and found your love for the sport again, in some way help you win Boston?
100%. I mean, I think you look at the conditions on that day, and it's super easy to be negative and say, oh, there goes my chance for whatever. I'm not going to run a PR. It's not going to go well. And I had just gone through a period where I said, the results don't matter. Like, I'm just going to go and fall in love with running and enjoy that. And so that's, wasn't thinking, I was also thinking more short term. Like, you put all these pressures on these long-term things, and you forget about just getting out the door and enjoying the sound of the gravel under your feet and your breath, and having time here by yourself to just think through everything or nothing at all, and just, enjoy a run. And I think a lot of that helped me be really present that day in Boston. Instead of thinking, gosh, Hopkinton to Boston seems like forever right now. The headwinds are insane. This is miserable. Like, today's going to be this bad. It was like, we're here. Like, just do this here. What can you do right now? And how can this be beneficial? And then what's the next thing? And let's do that. And that's what kept me moving forward. That's what kept me motivated all day. It wasn't, I could win, because then you start worrying about how you feel. And honestly, I don't care if you had a good day or not. We all felt pretty horrible out there. I don't know anyone who was like, no, I felt awesome. Even if you PR'd, you're like, no, that was not the best.
So you've got all this accumulated wisdom now from your career, from that experience. We have some young runners in the audience, so I'm curious, advice, best piece of advice you could give actually a runner of any age, based on what you've learned about yourself and what you've learned through that whole process.
Yeah, I mean, I learned to love the process of running. Don't do it because it makes mom and dad happy, or because the medals are cool. Like, those are great reasons to get into it, and they're super fun and they're motivating along the way, but figure out how to find joy in the activity, and you'll be able to do it for forever. And if you don't find any joy in it at all, it's okay. You can do something else too. There's bikes, and there's kayaks, and there's swimming, and there's running, and there's a tons of ways to be healthy. And this room really loves running, and we hope that you pick running because we think it's really great, and you can do it for a long time. But if every day you go out and you're like, this is miserable, then don't do it, and that's okay too. And maybe your break will be for a couple years, and then maybe you'll come back to it later and you'll love running. So it's okay. Just figure out why you're running, what you like about it, and how to make it sustainable. How can I do this every day for a long time? Make it fun.
You mentioned earlier the coaching switch. You were with the Hansons Brooks group, I believe, since 2005.
Yes.
And then after your Boston win, you switched. You went back to the coach you had at Arizona State, Walt Drenth. Mm-hmm. What was behind the switch?
Trying to think. Proximity. No, I mean, I had been there for a really long time, and when I went through that slump, a lot of it was doing things differently. Like, stop comparing yourself to yourself. Like, go run Mayor's Cup cross country because you've never done that before, and you can just go and compete, and it's new and it's fresh. And I just needed something fresh. Really great people. They did so much for my career. Nothing but nice things to say about them. They have a great group right now. And it was 13 really great years of results, but I was at a point where I felt like I was not going to get any better doing the same thing, but also knowing that it was like hard to invest time, energy without hope. Like, it just seems like a lost cause. Like, I don't even have a spark of hope that I might get better here anymore. And so I can work with someone else, and maybe it'll go up just a tick. It could fall off completely, but just that unknown and the fact that there might be something else there was refreshing, and doing different work has been refreshing. And so it's not right, wrong, this, that. It's just next step, different.
I have to ask, what's your favorite workout to do?
Long runs count?
Sure.
Long run. Is that a workout? And then
top two.
We've been doing 1200s, like thousands, 1200s on the track, like in bulk, and they're super hard for me. And so every time I get a little bit better, and that's been really fun because it's like I can see the progress. Like, I can see leg speed coming around, and being on the track is fun too, sometimes.
Speaking of getting faster, I think it was last week that the IOC announced that the Olympic standards were being lowered for the women's marathon. Quite a jump, more than 15 minutes, I believe, from 2:45 to 2:29:30.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, exactly. What are your thoughts on such a tough standard? I'm a big believer in the more the merrier in some respects, but it'll preclude a lot of people, potentially.
Yeah, I mean, I think in terms of the larger international event, it's going to be hard to get the numbers. The road's open. Like, you can have a pretty big marathon, particularly at the games. There's plenty of room, so I don't really see the need to tighten it up so much. There is a point system or a ranking system now, so there's another way to get qualified, and there's several problems with the whole thing, and it's me sitting here explaining this to you, and then you watch the Olympic trials and you go, oh, 1, 2, 3, that's our Olympic team, and then there's a fourth person with the flag, and you're like, well, why does she have a flag? Well, because third place didn't have the qualifier. She finished 7th, but she has it, but her points, and like your eyes cross, and you're like, how can I be a fan? Like, I don't understand the game. What's the game? So I mean, I think a looser standard, and you go 1, 2, 3. This is our Olympic team. It just makes a lot of sense, and our trials are super exciting. We get a ton of eyeballs on the sport when they're on TV, and it's thrilling, and it's a reason to watch track and field, and it's a reason to watch marathoning. And so, a little frustrating. I think people will step up. I think on the American side that we'll still have people hit the time standard and qualify and be just fine. The women's marathon right now is deeper than ever. I don't think you'll make the team if you aren't a 2:29:30. I don't care what course you're on. Like, we're that good. We shouldn't have a problem. I think the men have a bunch of guys right there in the ballpark. They just haven't had that breakthrough, and this might be the thing that pushes them past that 2:10 barrier or whatever it is. I mean, I think they're going to smash through this 2:11:30. I think everyone's going to lift up their game, so good to a degree, but honestly, the Olympics is about inclusion and in an international or a global event. It's not about just the fastest elites from this region or that region. It's like, let's make it inclusive as possible. Like the road is open.
All right. So we'll go away from getting into the weeds of the Olympic qualifying process. No, I think
I could keep going, but
I could keep listening. But I do want to talk about some of your interests outside of running. I don't know, how many of you got a sample of the Linden and True coffee out there? We now have a coffee entrepreneur, aficionado turned entrepreneur, right? So explain to me how this all got started. And in case you don't know, Linden and True is a coffee company founded by Des, her husband Ryan, and two other professional athletes, Ben and Sarah True. So what drew you to becoming coffee entrepreneurs? And is there a word that combines the two of those? Coffeepreneurs? Coffee something? I don't know.
We'll work on it.
Yeah, let's work on it.
This could be a thing. Yeah, we love coffee. Who doesn't love coffee? Raise your hand so I can pick on you. Except for you guys. You shouldn't be having it. Yeah, no, it's something that when we travel around, that's like the first thing you figure out. Where's the best spot to get coffee? Where can I get a really good espresso? Are they roasting their own beans? Like, I'm coming back from Australia, like leaving my running shoes, and I have like 17 bags of like different coffees. That's what we do. And so it was, just became a constant conversation with the Trues, and Ben had gotten a roaster, and him and Ryan have like a bromance. So on Instagram, he's like, "Oh, that's so cool! Like, how does it work? What are you doing? What's the game plan?" And then Ryan was like, "I think I'm gonna get one." And so Ryan bought a roaster, and they just kind of had this Instagram connection. And I think it all happened over the phone. He was like, "Well, let's try to do a thing before Boston and just do kind of like a soft launch of a potential company." And so that we just sort of threw everything together about 6 weeks before Boston. And they launched at Tracksmith on Newbury and had a little pop-up there, and it was great, and they loved it. And then it was really just those two, and Sarah was kind of chipping in here and there, and I'm like, I'm busy. And then I won Boston, and I was like, I'm marketing.
And the rest is history.
The rest is history.
Okay, so staying with beverages, you call yourself a whiskey connoisseur, a whiskey aficionado? Enthusiast, okay. You have quite an extensive whiskey collection. How did you get into whiskey? And this is what and explain a little bit about what happens after a race, right? Because I was going to say, I thought that was public knowledge. But how did you get into collecting whiskey, and how you use it in your post-marathon celebration?
In my marathon training? Yeah. To take the edge off. Bad workout. No, it was actually just back in my Moose Jaw days, I had roommates, and it was just a social thing. And I think one of our buddies had a friend at work who would always like tell him about different whiskeys he should try, or bourbons specifically. And he was like, well, I have to just pick up a couple bottles, like one or two, like, go to Costco, like $25 or something. So we did that, and it became a thing where we all sat around and just sipped and tasted and talked about what, we're having. And it wasn't like we're gonna smash bourbons. It was a social way to just hang out with your roommates. And so that's how it started. And then once you have a couple, you're like, well, what else fits into this thing? Like, what other flavors do I want? And it's just like coffee, you nerd out. And in 11, that was probably 9 or 10 when this first started, and someone made a Wikipedia page for me, which is kind of funny. It was one of my teammates, and they put on there, has a whiskey collection, which was semi-true, and we had a couple bottles, and collects tapestries, which is not true. And so that's how it started. But the crazy thing is, it's like become this thing where people want me to try their bourbons or their whiskeys now. So like, and you can bring them all up afterwards, but people always bring me bourbon. Like, here, I got this bottle for you. It's a gift. And so I'm going to see if I can go on the Wikipedia page and see if we can change collects tapestries to rare sports cars. Just in cases.
Yes, sounds good. And this is part of the post-marathon ritual to kind of toast each marathon with some special whiskey? Occasionally?
Occasionally.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, this year, I don't know why I'm throwing myself under the bus. I mean, for sure we do the Triple Crown, which is probably a wine, a beer, and, a whiskey. And it's not like all at once. Like someone was like, shot. I'm like, no, it's just casually throughout the evening. But this year is very special. And so as a tribute to Brooks, who I love, has been a great company to me, I just went out of Linden. We had a very nice, not very nice, it's actually a pretty mild bottle of champagne. And I put some in my shoe and I did a shoey. So, but not bourbon. That's too nice.
So before we get to audience questions, I kind of want to do a little speed session with some rapid fire questions, but I'm going to also take this opportunity to remind everybody that you can either go to the microphone at the side of the stage for questions, which is going to be, I guess, more centrally located, Amy. And also you can go to slido.com and then enter the code #DL318, and I will get it right here on my cell phone. So audience questions are coming up, but before we get there, this is your speed session for the day, okay?
Right. I'm a marathoner, so just keep that in mind with the pace.
Okay, besides the obvious, shoes, shirts, shorts, socks, what's the one piece of running gear or equipment you can't do without?
Sunglasses.
Okay.
Eyes are important.
Do you listen to music when you run or during workouts?
Occasionally when I run. This is new.
Okay.
It turns out the miles still count. Like, they still count. You did the miles even if you had headphones in. It's weird.
I asked because I'm curious, what's the favorite song on your playlist, or what's the big song in your rotation right now that it's your go-to?
Yeah, 21 Savage, Friends. All my friends. I don't know which one it is.
Go-to pre-race meal?
White rice. Like, a bit bland, maybe a little bit of chicken. I had Chipotle 3 days in a row last week, just like white rice, chicken, like bland burrito. It's like fake Chipotle, but it's safe. You know exactly what you're getting, I think, except when they had that salmonella thing. You know exactly what you got. Salmonella. So dumb.
Staying on the food theme here. I understand Ryan's a pretty good cook.
Yes.
Favorite meal that Ryan makes?
He's good pork tenderloin. I mean, he's done a great lamb chops before. He's a really good cook, but like a go-to, you know exactly what you're getting. Ryan Linden's pork tenderloin.
All right. Go-to treat during training. Something that you will allow yourself to have while you're in the sort of the throes of marathon training.
Old fashions.
Favorite part of the Boston Marathon course?
Oh, gosh. I mean, the finish.
All right, besides the obvious, besides the finish, part that you enjoy running through.
So you come down that, was it Chestnut Hill?
Mm-hmm.
I love that downhill. And then you cross the tracks, and then it's like right out here. That's it. Cleveland Circle. I didn't want to say it because I was just in New York, and I'm like, it's not Columbus Circle. It's Cleveland Circle. Thank you.
Least favorite part of the course?
Lower Newton Falls.
Where you go over 95? Where you go over the
always
interstate?
get dropped there. I always get dropped there. It's the worst.
If you're not training for the Boston Marathon or not running on the course here, what's your favorite place to run in Boston?
I honestly only run the Charles, but I'm open to suggestions. Don't submit questions, just be like, suggest.
I was going to say, we have Slido for that too. Bucket list race. I mean, you get to run a lot of great races, but is there any race out there that you haven't run that's on your bucket list?
Yeah, there's quite a few probably. I think I would love to do Comrade someday. I want to run Tokyo. I feel like I should run London to do the 6 stars or whatever.
Would you do the double, Boston, then London?
No, honestly, I'll probably never do London. I got friends to London. I don't know. But Tokyo, I'd love to do Tokyo.
Last TV series you binged, or favorite TV series if you're not a binger?
What's the American crime series that they did with OJ? Anybody know what I'm talking about? There's a second season that was on Versace. That was good.
And if you weren't a pro runner, what would you be?
That wasn't even funny. It was not even a joke. I'm just kidding.
And if not a pro runner, what would you be?
Sports psychologist.
Wow. So, we have questions.
Yes.
Come on, and say your name, and you look like you're from Girls on the Run. So awesome.
Right.
What's your name?
Ella.
Hi, Ella.
Hi. What age did you start running at?
That's a good question. I played soccer. I started soccer when I was 4 going on 5. Like, my dad lied on the paper. It's like, she needs to do sports. Like, get her running around. So I was running on the soccer field when I was 5 years old, and I loved it. But we have this weird thing about training when you're super young, so you want to play sports and scrimmage and do all that stuff. But I got into track and field when I was in 7th grade. So there's a lot of ways to run, and you can, whether it be softball, soccer, just being active. But I got into track and field when I was in 7th grade.
Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Riley. Did you do any teams like Girls on the Run when you were younger?
I was on teams, and soccer teams. I don't think they had a program like Girls on the Run. Honestly, I think I've seen what you guys do, and I think it's a great program, and I probably would have signed up. I think it would have been a lot of fun, but I don't think they had programs like that. So it's really cool. Enjoy it, and it's something you can take with you for your whole life. Like, you can run for forever. So figure out how to enjoy it and have fun with it, and don't put too much pressure on it. Just go run.
Hi, I coach Girls on the Run. Who's your biggest woman influence?
It's kind of cliche, but honestly, it's my sister. Like, she's the person that we grew up doing everything together. We've always gotten along, and just a person that I try to be like, and I have learned a lot from. And sometimes I try to not be like her. And that's okay too. She's laughing because she knows her. Yeah, I mean, that's one person. And there's obviously people in the sport. There's tons of people. I think if you're a female runner right now, gosh, you have so many options for someone to look up to. You can watch a race and find 10, 15 great stories that might connect with you, that might excite you. So dial into the races, whether it's marathon, track, cross country. There's just so much great stuff happening on the women's side specifically, in my opinion, right now.
My name's Stephanie, and did you want to run when you were younger?
Stephanie, no, I didn't really like it. I was like, I don't like it. I like soccer. I like they tried to put me in softball, and I was like, this is too boring. But running was like, well, we just go around, and it's kind of boring. And then I found cross country, and I was like, oh, well, that's cool because it's a course and you can do hills. And that's like when I started to like running, because it was different than like a hamster wheel. But most people, they don't want to hear that. It's like, well, I enjoyed playing sports. I loved running around, but training at first wasn't like, oh, I love this. This is amazing. It took a while for me to like it.
My name's B, and I was wondering if you could answer my question that, because I do Girls on the Run, and whenever I go to run, I always start out really, really fast and confident, and then I kind of slow down, and I'm not that I don't have that much confidence in myself. So I was wondering, what's a way that I could get better at that?
I think it's practice. I think you're really excited, right? Because this still happens to so many marathoners. They're like, I'm at the start of the Boston Marathon. I feel amazing. This is my day. And they go crush the first 6 miles. And then they're like, oh, I went out too hard. This hurts. This is a very normal thing. And you just practice and you get better at understanding your ability level and your fitness level and what your running means. And then it's also patience. Do you know what patience is? Yeah. It's a bummer of an answer because it's just like you just gotta wait longer and be patient and keep trying and keep showing up and practice. So it's two of those, but you have plenty of time to figure it out.
Thank you.
A lot of runs ahead of you? Yeah.
I like your shoes.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Grace. I was wondering how you pace yourself and control your breathing when you're running.
Yeah, I think pacing is such a learned thing, and my philosophy is easy days easy, and you don't even worry about it. You just run comfortable. Can I talk to the people next to me? Do I feel relaxed? Could I have a conversation on my easy days? That's nice, easy pacing, and then you can work on race pace and harder pace stuff, in workouts, and that's in a measured setting where you go, okay, I'm on the track and I know that I need to hit 100 meters at this time, and then you can see it, and then next 100 meters at this time, and you can see it, and then you just start building a better understanding of your body and how each pace feels for you. So it is just slowly building into those things and using markers, and you just get better and better at it. And that's when you start testing yourself and pushing yourself. Oh, I ran a mile in this, and next time I'm gonna try to be 10 seconds faster, and here's how I would break it down to do it evenly. Because with pacing, it's always, for distance runners, an even race or negative split is the best way to run. Do you know what a negative split is? It's when you go out a little slower and then you finish faster. So the second half of your race is faster than your first half. And that's the best way to run, and honestly, it feels so much better.
I want to just get a few questions in here from Slido, because I know there are a lot of you typing in questions. You can see them up there. Wow. So we'll go, they're moving all around. So the first one, and I was also interested in the Joan Didion question, but let's go for the first two here. What's your tip to first-time marathon runners to avoid, it's the #1 most popular, to avoid that dreaded bathroom break?
Interesting, it's from Anonymous.
Yes.
Well, Anonymous. There's the Linden and True coffee back there. Is delicious, but it's also a tool. It's practice all of this stuff in practice, and we do all the running and logging your pace, and you get that dialed in, and you practice what fluids you're going to take on course. You get that dialed in. Practice your pre-race meal. Try it out before big workouts, before long runs, and see how things sit in your stomach. You shouldn't have any question marks going into a big race day. I really wanted to try that new Indian food place. This is a good night. Probably not. Go with what you know. And simple, bland, boring plate is perfect for a race. White rice, chicken, and the tortilla, carbs, you're fine. That's usually, unless you get the, Chipotle chicken issue, but I can't answer that. And then morning of, say it tongue in cheek, but coffee is a great tool for waking you up and getting things going. And if you can get that done before you get to the start, it's a good sign that you're going to be okay.
And then we'll just take the one from Chloe Axelson, not anonymous. You introduced me to Joan Didion's 1961 essay on self-respect. I wonder if you could tell me what that essay means to you. A very deep question for an avid reader. Joan Didion, your favorite author?
Yeah, certainly in the discussion. Fascinating thing, not to answer the question, but that was written for Vogue, and it was a last-minute ad for that issue, and the writer who was supposed to write it, they didn't like the piece, so they'd say, hey, Joan, can you do this? And she had, because it was already formatted, she had to write that essay not to the word count, to the character count. And it is an incredible essay, and I recommend everyone read it. But it's, I don't know, she just nailed down that discussion that we kind of all have with ourselves, and it's about character and, you know, standing by the things you do. It's not saying that you're not going to mess up, that you're not going to make mistakes, but when you do, own it, take responsibility, and try to be better. And that's, you know, it's a matter of respecting yourself. It comes from here, it's in here. It's not about making you guys happy. But yeah, I mean, it's a lot of what I do believe in, and I think that there's a lot in there that can be picked apart, certainly. But I think the writing is fantastic as well. So,
go ahead. Hi, I'm Julia. I'm a big fan of yours from back in 2011 and now up into this year. And it's sort of a loaded question that goes back to weed whacking on the IOC's open inclusion of more runners in the marathon. Do you think that means that there might be more strategizing between the women's USA team now that we have such a loaded field? And you even kind of saw it in how you and Shalane sort of did it off the cuff last year. You know, I'll slow down a little bit. I'll help you through the pack and we can work together. That even though you guys have different coaches, maybe we'll go into the next Olympic with a strategy as a team that we can get 2, maybe 3 women on the podium, because I am optimistic that we can see at least 1 woman on the podium next Olympics.
Yeah, I agree. I think that we're seeing it to a degree with the teams, and it's Amy and Shalane, you know, are working together, and the Hansons have a great team, and Jerry's group is good, and there's a lot of groups that are helping each other out, and it makes a lot of sense. I think in race day, if you're, you know, not on the same team, it's hard to coordinate your strengths together. So if you get, for example, if you had 3 of Jerry's women make the marathon team, absolutely, I think they would 100% work together. But it's like an all-star team in basketball or something. Like, they don't really know each other's styles. They don't put in enough time together. So in theory, if it matched up, I don't think anyone is opposed to helping anyone else in the U.S. But if one person is aggressive front runner, has a bunch of speed, and this person's a, you know, patient grinder, work the way through, like, those don't necessarily match up. So it really depends on the chemistry of the people who make the team. Possible, but we'll see who we get.
I'm pulling for you to make the team.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
Thanks. Hi, I'm Leah. I'm a huge fan. I coach with Girls on the Run, and I'm running Boston for the first time this year. I was wondering if you have any tips to avoid hitting the wall. I've had that happen a bunch of times in prior marathons, and I was wondering if you had any advice.
Yeah, what's your do you have your nutrition dialed, like, on race day?
I've mixed it up a little bit in terms of what gels and sugars to take, but I've still, like, broken down usually around like 18 or 20.
Yeah, I think definitely make sure that nutrition is dialed, and, you know, I could really read into some things, and fueling is usually one of the causes of that late race bonk. And so that's the first thing, make sure that's dialed. 2, and understand where your fitness level is and what the workouts mean, and then set yourself up to negative split. I know it's tough on this course. Go by, you know, effort in the hills, not necessarily pace. And even if you're if you go positive by 30 to 40 seconds here, like, it's really, that's basically even. So I would just start a little more conservative. Don't try to bank time in the hills. It's really tempting because it's easy the first couple miles and you feel amazing, and just natural thing to want to do. But I would really temper that in so that you can use the last 6 miles to just kind of tear home on the late downhills.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Hi, my name's Erin.
Hi, Erin.
How are you? I want to know, what book are you reading right now, and then if you have any book recommendations.
Good one. Right now I'm reading The Master of Disguise by Tony Mendez. Anybody know that name? Anybody see Argo?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So it's his autobiography about his time in the CIA, and he actually had like special permission to write about a bunch of just recently unclassified documents. It's really fascinating. A lot of good history in there, and some like crazy adventures. So that's been fun. And then recommendations. I feel like I'm in the spotlight. I don't know. I can't think. You know, like what did you read recently? And you're like, you read 7 books, and you're like, I don't know. That's what's happening right now. I'm sorry.
Get back to me.
All right.
So I have about 500 questions, but I'll narrow it down to one.
Pick your favorite 200.
How has your training changed over time, and like in terms of eating, and like do you meditate or do any mental prep work now, and like what's the key for preserving yourself in the long run?
In like the metaphorical long run or the actual?
Figuratively and metaphor.
Okay, that's 3 questions.
I know I had a 3-parter.
Okay. What was the first part?
It was how has your training and like nutrition changed over time?
I think you can stack year on year, and so as you get older and stronger, more mileage becomes easier and necessary. You obviously want to try and push yourself. Well, depends what your goals are. For me, it's to push myself a little more with pace and just try to crank things down a little bit here and there. I value balancing speed work and strength work, so I don't do a ton of marathons in a row. It's like speed work, marathon, speed work. So that's always changing. And then as far as nutrition, I don't have a philosophy, honestly. Like some people can give you really great advice. I'm not that person. I don't think I'm gonna give you bad advice. I just think for me, it's simple, healthy, whole foods. Try to avoid bags and boxes. Like that's my nutrition tip. And when you break it down, it's actually very practical, but it's not that sexy. It sounds kind of weird, and it's not really scientific, but it's just simple. And that's always kind of been my thing. So that hasn't really evolved over the years. So it's kind of set where it is. And then the second part of the question was about the long run.
Yeah, in the long run. And then also if you meditated or if that's part of it.
I don't meditate. I will lay down and visualize, and I guess maybe that could be meditation, but I do visualization quite a bit. My sister worked for Headspace for a long time, and she was like, here's the app, you can have it. I work there, you can do it for free. And I was like, thank you, I'm gonna do it. And I never did it, not once. And I've heard it's amazing, I've heard great things, and I get there's a ton of value in that, so I totally recommend it. But I just, like, for me, like, Andy's voice is too, like, he's like, it's so calm and soothing and British, and I'm like, I'm asleep. So visualization is like my main thing, but I think there's a ton of value in that. I think those are great tools. And then what's the question about the long run?
Oh, just like how do you see it? Because obviously running is like an impact sport, and like how do you want to, or like how do you preserve like your body and like I guess spirit?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's taking care of yourself and listening to your body, which is, it can be really hard for us because we want to do more and we want to get better and we want to push, and that's part of what all of it's about. But I think you really have to listen and know that more isn't always better. And this is a lifelong sport. You can do it for a very long time and can be really healthy. So take care of yourself and make sure it's fun and you're loving the process of it, and then physically take care of yourself. Like get good shoes, like go get fitted by someone who can fit you for the right shoes. And if you need a massage, get a massage. And if you need PT and chiro and all that stuff, it's like, well, it's expensive, it's a lot of time, but like it's gonna preserve exactly what you're saying, the longevity of this career, and this thing's really healthy for the most part. And so it's like it's investing in yourself. I think those little things go a long way.
Thank you.
You got it.
Don't ignore the people on Slido. One that I think could be a quick answer is, what's your personal mantra during a race? Or is there one that you would like to answer?
I think that when we get in a tough spot in a race, or what's happening is we're really tense and tight and forcing things. And like, if you look at your finishing pictures when you're like kicking it home, unless you're celebrating, because yeah, I got a PR, yeah. Otherwise, you're like you get the ugly race photos. And you're like, I'm pushing so hard, like, and we all have them. And like, this isn't fast. Like this, you're not fast. Like you have to like relax. Like, and I tell myself, calm, relax. And I do it in a calm and relaxing rhythm. And I go from head to toe, and it's like, how do I feel here? Like, oh yeah, tight, like relax. And shoulders down, arms down, like relax your hands. And I just use that to kind of go through a checklist of the body and just make sure I'm not forcing, but you just relax and let the run come out of you. And by saying calm, relax, I can get there. Good advice. Yes.
Hi, my name's Aline. I'm a senior on the BU cross country and track team.
Nice.
So I think like going into my last season right now, outdoor season, there's just a lot of feelings going on. Like you're physically drained, emotionally, mentally drained. So I think running is going to be part of my life in the future. So I'd say like, I know you've advised a lot of younger girls, but like I guess at this point in time, at this age, after like a collegiate career, what would you kind of advise to kind of like you were saying, not overinvest and like fall in love with running again, I guess, after being part of like a team for 4 years?
How are you feeling about it? Like, are you ready? I'm like, I'm so ready to be done. Like, this has been exhausting. Or are you like, man, this is going to be so hard. I'm not going to have my core. Like,
I think it's that. I don't think it's I'm ready to be done.
Yeah. I mean,
it's
some people just get to the end and they're like 4 years, like,
right, and they're
schedule,
done. Like,
blah, blah. Yeah. I mean, I think join a group, try to join a group, find a running club in the area. I mean, obviously you're in a great spot for that. Mm-hmm. Sign up for some races. Just find a way to make it fun. And if you can find that social component to it, it goes a long way. And then, I think start there and figure out how it fits in your life. I think that's the biggest adjustment is when you leave college, life gets flipped upside down, right? You're doing the job and the whole thing, and you have to decide how much of a priority it is. But having a group of people to meet makes it so much easier.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
All right, there's 6 people who are pushing this to the top of the list. I think I know you'd go with shoe recommendations, just judging from your gear and your sponsor, but shoe recommendations?
Well, I'm a Brooks person, obviously. They've been super good to me, and I run in the glycerin. Like, it's this big, cushy, I don't know, it's a nice, soft shoe for bad old people. But my advice for running shoes is go to the local running store and get fitted. Get fitted by a person who can see you jog, and you can try on a couple pairs of shoes and jog in them and have them watch you and get the right shoe for you, because that can be the difference between going out and logging miles or sitting on the sideline with an injury.
And you're up.
Hi, my name is Yana, and as kind of a fellow relatively small runner, I was just wondering if you had general advice for things with the athlete triad, and if that's something you've ever had to deal with in your career, and just general advice.
Yeah, I have never struggled with that. I think it's, you go through a lot of changes, and it's figuring it out and being patient, eating healthy, and having a good relationship with food. And if you don't, asking questions and talking to people about it. I think it's a process, and I think a lot of people struggle with food, and it's okay. It's a conversation, and that will kind of feed into the other stuff too. And so it's just getting that balance, and not being afraid to ask for help if you are struggling with things. It goes a long way, and it's normal. It's really normal to have to ask questions and say, hey, I don't understand this, or don't feel right. And so you can make adjustments, and you then have the longevity in a career.
Thanks.
Yeah.
I think we'll end with this one from Slido, bring it sort of full circle to 2018. If you wake up the morning of the Boston Marathon this year, and the weather is exactly like 2018, are you excited or terrified?
Bring it on, baby. Bring it on.
And on that note, I want to thank you all for coming. And enjoying this wonderful new venue. I want to thank Des especially for taking time out from her busy Boston Marathon training schedule. I also want to thank the events crew at WBUR and City Space. They're the people behind City Space. Amy McDonald, Candace Springer, no relation, though I wish there was one. Alex Schneps and Des Arevalo. I knew I was going to stumble on that. Also to Mary Kate Shea, the elite athlete coordinator for John Hancock, who made this partnership with John Hancock possible and in turn made this event possible. And also a shout out to the engineers who make this all sound and look great every night here at City Space. And finally, if you like what you heard tonight, if you're interested in hearing more in-depth conversations with well-known, terrific sports figures. If you're interested in hearing conversations on topics that fall in the intersection of sports and medicine, sports and gender, sports and race, sports and business, please check the listings of City Space on our website regularly because there's a lot more to come. We have a lot of great events planned and we are just getting started. So thank you again for coming. Thank you.
Well, let's go back to our callers.